Hello. Today we're covering attitude and usage studies, often just called A&U, one of the most foundational research tools in all of consumer goods. Before a brand does anything else, before pricing research, before concept testing, before segmentation, most companies start here, because A&U answers the most basic question of all. Where do we actually stand with consumers right now? By the end of this, you'll know exactly what an A&U study measures, how to build one, and how to read the results. Let's start with the problem it solves. Here's a question every brand needs answered, and most never properly measure. Who actually knows you? Who's tried you? And out of everyone who's tried you, who keeps coming back? It sounds basic, but most companies are operating on assumptions here, not data. They assume awareness is decent, assume trial converts to usage, assume customers like them as much as they like themselves. Those assumptions are expensive when they're wrong, and an A&U study is how you replace them with real numbers. The core idea is simple. You can't improve what you haven't measured. Before you invest in a new ad campaign, a product reformulation, or a pricing change, you need a clear baseline of where things stand today. An attitude and usage study gives you that complete baseline in one survey: awareness, trial, usage, and attitudes, all measured together. It's the foundation that everything else gets built on. So what is an A&U study formally? It's a comprehensive survey that measures consumers' awareness, trial, usage, behavior, and attitudes toward a brand and its category. Companies typically run these regularly, often annually, as a baseline health check, similar to an annual physical for your brand. And because it's so foundational, it's often the very first study a company runs before doing anything else, since everything downstream depends on understanding where you currently stand. The signature concept in A&U research is the funnel, and once you see it, you'll recognize it everywhere. It has 4 narrowing stages: awareness, trial, current usage, and regular usage. Picture it as an actual funnel, wide at the top, narrow at the bottom. Everyone aware of your brand sits at the top. Fewer of those people have actually tried it. Fewer still are using it currently, and fewer still are regular, loyal users. The size of the drop-off at each stage tells you exactly where your brand's biggest opportunity or biggest problem actually lives. Let's make this concrete with a real example. Oatwave is a brand in the plant-based milk category, competing alongside oats, almonds, and soy milk brands on grocery shelves everywhere. They want to understand exactly where they stand, how many people know about them, how many have tried them, and critically, where along that journey they're losing people. That's exactly what we're about to find out. Before writing a single survey question, you need 2 clear definitions. First, the category. For Oatwave, that's plant-based milk, not just oat milk, because that's the broader space consumers are actually choosing within. Second, the full competitive set. Every brand the consumer might realistically consider, including the big national brands and private label store options. Here's the key constraint. You can only measure performance against brands you actually ask about. Leave a competitor off the list, and you'll never know how you stack up against them. The first stage of the funnel is awareness, and there are 2 ways to measure it. Unaided awareness asks, what plant-based milk brands can you name, without any prompting? Nothing is shown to the respondent. It's pure top-of-mind recall, and it's considered the gold standard because it shows which brands genuinely live in someone's head without help. Aided awareness, by contrast, shows people a list and asks which ones they recognize. It's a softer measure, since recognizing a name on a list is easier than recalling it unprompted. Both have value, but unaided awareness is the harder, more meaningful bar to clear. Now we move further down the funnel. Have you ever tried OatWave? Measures trial. Has this person crossed the line from knowing about the brand to actually buying or drinking it at least once? Have you used OatWave in the past 3 months? Measures current usage. Are they still actively buying it? And is OatWave one of the brands you regularly buy? Measures regular, loyal usage, and has it become part of their normal routine? Each of these 3 questions narrows the funnel a little further, and together they are the funnel. Beyond the funnel itself, you want to round out the picture with actual behavior details. How often do they purchase? What quantity or pack size do they typically buy? Where do they buy it? Which retailers? How much do they spend? And what else do they buy alongside it? Their basket behavior, meaning the other products purchased on the same shopping trip. This kind of behavioral detail helps you understand not just whether someone uses your brand, but how it actually fits into their real shopping habits. This is where you start to understand the why behind the numbers. You ask people to rate OatWave and every major competitor on the exact same set of attribute statements, using a 5-point agreement scale. Things like tastes great, good value for money, healthy choice, good for the environment, a brand I trust. Asking the identical battery across every brand is what makes this powerful. You're not just learning how people feel about OatWave in isolation, you're seeing exactly where it's stronger or weaker in the competition on each specific attribute. Now the diagnostic layer, the question that explains why people drop off at each stage of the funnel. For people who are aware of OatWave but have never tried it, you ask, what stopped you from trying OatWave? For people who tried it but no longer use it, you ask, what's the main reason you stopped? These questions are where the real insight lives. The funnels tells you that people are dropping off. These questions tell you why, and that's what turns the study from a diagnosis into an actual plan. Round out the study with a couple of relationship questions. How likely are you to repurchase OatWave? Gets at retention intent directly. How likely are you to recommend OatWave to a friend? An NPS-style question fits naturally here and connects your A&U study to ongoing loyalty tracking you might already be doing elsewhere. These questions sit at the very bottom of the funnel, capturing not just whether someone uses the brand, but how strongly attached they are to it. Here's a critical point that's easy to get wrong. You survey the whole category, not just your own customers. If you only ask people who already buy OatWave, you'll never learn anything about the much larger group who don't. And that's where your biggest growth opportunity usually sits. Screen for category buyers, people who buy plant-based milk of any brand. Aim for a general population sample of 300 to 500 or more. And if you want a richer behavioral detail about your own user specifically, boost that subgroup with an additional sample on top. Let's put the whole survey together in order. First, screen for category buyers. Then unaided awareness, followed by aided awareness. Then the trial and usage funnel questions. Then behavior. Then the attitude battery, rating both your brands and competitors. Then the barriers questions, why people haven't tried or why they stopped. Then loyalty and advocacy. And finally, demographics. It's a longer survey than some of the others we've covered because it's doing more. It's the comprehensive baseline everything else builds from. Now let's take a look at OatWave's actual results. Awareness sits at 65%. A solid majority of category buyers know the brand. Trial drops to 38%. Already a meaningful decline, but expected since not everyone aware of a brand tries it. Current usage drops further to 22%, and regular usage sits at 11%. Now look closely at where the biggest drop happens. It's between trial and current usage. People are trying OatWave once, but a large share aren't coming back. That's not an awareness problem. Awareness is fine. It's a retention problem. Something about the first experience isn't earning a second purchase, and that insight points directly at the barriers data to find out exactly why. And that insight points directly at the barriers data to find out exactly why. Let's be balanced. The strengths of an A&U study. It gives you a complete comparable baseline across your entire category, not just your own brand in isolation. It diagnoses precisely where you're losing people, which tells you exactly where to focus. And because it's repeatable, you can run it again next year and see whether your efforts actually move the needle. The limitations. It's a big, broad survey, which means it takes real budget and a meaningful sample size to do properly. It's a snapshot, one point in time, so it needs to be repeated regularly to show genuine trends. And it doesn't explain everything on its own. The biggest gaps it uncovers are often best explored further with qualitative follow-up, like the interviews we covered in an earlier video. 6 things to take with you. Map the funnel. Awareness, trial, usage, and loyalty, because that structure is the foundation of the whole study. The biggest drop-off in the funnel tells you exactly where to focus your effort. Measure attitudes for your brand and your competitors side by side, since that's what reveals real strengths and real gaps. Always ask, why not, to diagnose the gaps the funnel reveals. Survey the whole category, not just your own customers, or you'll miss your biggest growth opportunity. And run the study regularly so you can track whether your work is actually moving the needle over time. Get this foundation right, and every other research project you run afterward has somewhere solid to stand. Thank you for watching.